Hello everyone and welcome to 40K What If. And this will be our first What If. And what if Lorgar, Aurelian, did not go into the Eye of Terror? Well, the prospect of gods brought Lorgar to the Eye of Terror. But what if he didn't? Now it comes down to Corpheron and Erebus conned him to taking that direction. But if he would not have embraced their words at his lowest moment, he would have searched for those gods somewhere else. And that likely would have took Lorgar and the entire legion of word bearers outside the galaxy. Now, imagine at his lowest moment if he did not embrace the words of Corpheron and Erebus. He would have been lost. He would have been searching for somewhere to go. And of course, as you know, at that point he was not much on the imperial side at that point. You know, when he went back into conquest, he was quite destructive. He was fighting mad, and not the good kind of fighting mad either. He wasn't on the imperial side at that moment anymore. But at that point, you know, the Primarchs, they had ability to mostly do as they please. He could have just rounded up the entire word bearers and left, which is a human inclination, and Lorgar was the most human of all the Primarchs. He would have left the galaxy. And as you and I know, exactly what he would have ran into. Now, could you imagine an entire legion of Space Marines running into the Tyranids? Well, we have one of two options. You know, one, Lorgar has found his new god. And I truly believe that Lorgar would have found merging with the hive mind to be acceptable. And just as he sold his own legion out to pain and death and torture to the chaos gods, well, that would be no different than being devoured by the Tyranids. Now, from the tyrannic view, you know, you could take this one of two ways. One, they get a really good nom nom. Or two, they could have turned them into something like a gene stealer and then sent them back into the galaxy. Now, that is the most insidious of the two options, because we have two paths here. We have the nom nom path, which then would have their unique DNA as bioforms, an entire legion of Space Marines. And as we know, at the time, the word bearers, because of their lack of casualties, was the most numerous of the legions. I mean, that would just be devastating. And then you would have the Tyranids coming into the galaxy loaded for Space Marine Bear. Now, that would make some epic fantasy stories. But I'm thinking that the hive mind, being a rather smart hive mind, would have at least sent most of the legion back as Trojan horses. And as we know, the propensity for trading Space Marines, they could have easily infiltrated all the legions. And then, as you and I both know, at that point, it's all over but the screaming. If you have 18 legions of Space Marines that have been infiltrated with the DNA of the Tyranids, it's all over at that point. Because before the heresy, the Space Marines were dealing the bulk of damage to everyone. You know, the supporting units did support, but they were not heavy in the fighting as the Space Marines. The Space Marines were everything. And using the typical tyrannid tactics of subversion, the entire imperium would have went down. Now the question is when would the emperor have caught on? Now that's the wild card. Is, you know, the emperor's pretty smart, but as a pretty smart emperor, he did some pretty stupid things. Now, being the great psychic presence, I think at the moment that the Tyranids made their move and walk into the galaxy, their psychic disruption of the warp, I believe the Emperor would definitely be able to detect it once it came into the light of the Astronomicon. Now, the Emperor might not know that his legions had been subverted that heavily by a gene stealer infestation. You know, I'd like to give the gold guy credit, I really would. But looking over at how much that he missed, now, as a person, I do believe that the Emperor's foresight would have at least gave him flashes. Then this last week before making this channel, I gave some serious thought on the Emperor. And for this to have played out, there's a couple different options, but those we'll talk about in different what ifs. The question is do we have a hyper competent Emperor, or do we have one that's like most of us? You know, we kind of know a little bit, but we're kind of winging it most of the time. And I'm kind of leaning to that. I'm thinking, much like Conrad Kerr's got glimpse, so does the Emperor. You know, he might not see all of the puzzle pieces, but he can ascertain patterns, is my theory. Now, I could be wrong, and we could have, you know, the know-it-all Emperor. But, you know, I don't think that is the case. Could be, but that'll be something for a different discussion. Now, as you and I know, the infiltration option, you know, it's just, it is a Custer-like glorious defeat. There's just no way the Imperium of Man could survive that. Sadly to say, but you know, humanity would definitely go down screaming. And it would be glorious. But the problem once again would be the fact is the Astartes would have been subverted and man wouldn't have their greatest defenders. The greatest defenders would be on the other side for the most part. Now, if the Tyranids were really, really hungry, because you know space is vast and nom-noms are hard to come by, there's the possibility that the High Fleet they ran across would have just went ahead and nommed them. And it all basically comes down to, could Lorgar interface with the hive mind? Or could the hive mind gain complete control over his minions and have a galactic invasion plan? Now, looking at the Tyranids, I do think there's a galactic invasion plan. But once again, it's all going to come down to the motivations of the hive mind. Now, my next one will probably be another Tyranid. Or not another, but it will be a Tyranid what if. You know, technically this is a Lorgar what if. But I really, really think that if he had not got on board with Corferon and Erebus, this is the route that Lorgar Aurelian would have taken. Because I was looking at the lore and thinking about, you know, their different ways of how they said, you know, there was one of two paths in the end, and I was trying to think at how this plays out, but this would definitely be humanity falling at the talons, the fangs, and the chitin of the Xenos. So that would definitely fit in with the Eldar prophecies. So let me know what you think in the comments below. And possibly we will expand on this later. Now, everyone, it's been good. I hope to meet everybody. Have a good night, and think about it.